Have you ever experienced that moment? Everything was going perfectly with her. The chemistry was electric. The conversations flowed. She couldn't keep her eyes or hands off you. Then something shifted. You opened up. You shared your deepest fears. You showed her the real you, and suddenly, she became distant. Her texts grew shorter, her excuses more frequent. The spark, gone. You're not imagining things. What you're experiencing isn't random bad luck. It's a predictable psychological pattern that's been playing out since the dawn of human relationships. Today, you're about to discover the uncomfortable truth that society has been hiding from you. Showing vulnerability to a woman too soon doesn't create the connection you think it does. It destroys attraction. While modern dating advice tells you to open up and be emotional, Machiavelli, the master strategist, warned centuries ago, he who surrenders his power loses everything. In female psychology, excessive male emotion doesn't generate empathy, it generates repulsion. When you prematurely reveal your emotional world, you shatter the mystery, dismantle the game, and hand over to her the one thing she only respects when it's difficult to obtain, your emotional control. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why she loses interest the moment you show emotion, and more importantly, how to maintain your position of strength without becoming emotionally unavailable. This knowledge will transform how you navigate relationships, giving you the upper hand in a game you didn't even know you were playing. What you need to understand first is that women, consciously or unconsciously, are constantly testing your strategic value through how you handle your emotions. This isn't malicious, it's instinctual. You see, showing feelings isn't inherently the problem. The problem arises when emotion comes without strength, without boundaries, without a shield. Emotion without strategy reads as weakness. And in the feminine dynamic, attraction is intimately tied to admiration. Admiration is born from the perception of strength, stability, and challenge. Think about it. When was the last time you felt deeply attracted to something easily obtained? Human psychology is wired to value what's difficult to acquire. Women operate on this principle with ruthless efficiency. When you meet her, you represent an enigma, a challenge to be solved, a fortress to be breached. This mystery fuels her attraction. Each layer of you she discovers feels like an achievement, a prize earned through effort and patience. This creates a powerful dopamine cycle that keeps her coming back for more. But what happens when you, believing that honesty is the best policy, dump your entire emotional landscape at her feet after just a few dates? You've just short-circuited the entire process. You've handed her the keys to your fortress without making her work for them. You've transformed yourself from a challenging puzzle into an open book with highlighted passages. Pay close attention now. When you expose your vulnerabilities too early or in an uncontrolled manner, a critical power shift occurs. From a desired man, you become an available man. From an emotional authority, you become emotionally dependent. And the woman, guided by Machiavellian instincts of testing and selection, begins to withdraw. Her loss of interest isn't random. It's an evolutionary response to the power imbalance you've created. The subtle manipulation enters the scene. She starts to distance herself, tests you again, provokes to see if you'll recompose yourself or sink even deeper. This psychological game is the field where she measures your true strategic value as a partner. You might be thinking, but this is just game playing. Shouldn't relationships be authentic? Yes, they should be authentic. But authenticity doesn't mean emotional recklessness. Even in nature, the most authentic displays of strength come with strategic timing and purpose. Consider how this plays out in your own experience. Remember that moment when you first revealed your insecurities to her. Perhaps you told her about your childhood traumas, your fear of rejection, or how deeply you needed her validation. You expected compassion, connection, deeper intimacy. Instead, you noticed a subtle shift in her eyes, a barely perceptible change that signaled something had broken. What broke wasn't her capacity for empathy. What broke was her image of you as a man who could weather storms without crumbling. Because here's the harsh truth: while a woman may verbally encourage emotional expression, her attraction responds to emotional strength. You need to understand the invisible triggers that activate this response in women. When you display unfiltered emotion too soon, you trigger several unconscious reactions. First, you signal genetic vulnerability. From an evolutionary standpoint, a man who cannot control his emotions might not be able to protect offspring or navigate social hierarchies successfully. This isn't conscious thought, it's primal programming. Second, you create emotional burden. By dumping your unprocessed feelings, you're essentially asking her to carry your emotional weight alongside her own. This creates an immediate power imbalance where she becomes the emotional caretaker, a role that kills romantic attraction while potentially activating maternal instincts, which is not what you want. Third, you eliminate challenge. Human desire thrives on intermittent reinforcement, the unpredictable reward that keeps us engaged. When you become completely transparent, you remove all elements of mystery and challenge, effectively killing the thrill of pursuit. The most powerful men understand this dynamic intuitively. They reveal themselves gradually, strategically, always maintaining a certain degree of mystery. They show emotion, yes, but with purpose and control. They never surrender their emotional sovereignty because they recognize it as the foundation of respect and desire. Think about the men women consistently find irresistible. They share a common trait, emotional self-mastery. Not emotional suppression, emotional mastery, the ability to feel deeply while remaining firmly in control of how and when those feelings are expressed. This balance creates the fascinating contradiction that fuels female attraction: accessibility without vulnerability, connection without surrender. Women implement a sophisticated series of tests to evaluate your emotional resilience. Understanding these tests gives you unprecedented advantage. The provocation test. She'll deliberately say something provocative or slightly offensive to see if you react emotionally or maintain composure. If you immediately become defensive, angry, or hurt, you fail. If you respond with calm confidence, perhaps even humor, you pass. The rejection test. She'll create small moments of rejection, canceling plans, being less responsive, showing interest in other men, to see how you handle the emotional impact. React with neediness or hurt, and you confirm her suspicion that you lack emotional stability. Respond with unaffected confidence, and you demonstrate the strength she's seeking. The vulnerability trap. She'll create spaces that seem safe for emotional disclosure, actively encouraging you to open up. This isn't necessarily manipulative. She genuinely wants to know your depths, but it's still a test. The man who shares selectively, maintaining boundaries while still offering authentic connection, passes brilliantly. The competition test. She'll mention other men or create situations where your position feels threatened. Your reaction reveals everything about your self-perception. Show jealousy or insecurity, and you telegraph low value. Maintain confident indifference, and you signal unshakable self-worth. Each test serves the same purpose: to separate men who merely appear strong from those who possess genuine emotional resilience. And here's the key insight: these tests never stop. Even in long-term relationships, a woman will periodically test your emotional strength to reassure herself she's with a man who won't collapse under pressure. The ultimate moment of this dynamic, the point where everything changes irreversibly, occurs when you, in the name of love, confess everything. Your fears, your insecurities, your complete emotional dependence on her. You believe this will create intimacy, but in the female perspective, it destroys desire. Picture this scenario. After weeks or months of dating, you find yourself deeply attached to her. One evening, perhaps after physical intimacy or during a seemingly deep conversation, you feel an overwhelming urge to be completely honest. You tell her how you've never felt this way before, how you think about her constantly, how meeting her has healed something broken inside you, how you need her in your life, how afraid you are of losing her. In that moment, you believe you're creating the ultimate connection. What you don't see is the invisible alarm bell ringing in her mind. In one emotional outpouring, you've 1. Eliminated all challenge by making your feelings completely transparent. Placed the entire emotional weight of the relationship on her shoulders. Positioned yourself as needing her more than she needs you. surrendered your power position entirely. She now possesses everything. There's no more mystery, no more challenge, no more resistance. The emotional throne has been handed over, and she cannot respect someone who abdicates power without struggle. Her attraction, which was built on the perception of your strength and mystery, collapses. What follows is predictable. She becomes less available. Her texts take longer. Her interest in physical intimacy diminishes. She becomes confused about her feelings or needs space. These aren't coincidences. They're direct responses to the power shift you've created. And here's the most painful part. She cannot articulate why this is happening. If asked, she'll likely say something vague about losing feelings or not being in the right place. She might even encourage you to find someone who appreciates your sensitivity. She's not lying. She simply doesn't have conscious access to the primal mechanisms driving her response. This is precisely what Machiavelli understood about human nature. In his masterwork, The Prince, he observed that people may claim to value openness and honesty, but they instinctively respect power and mystery. He wrote that, "It is far safer to be feared than loved, not as an endorsement of cruelty, but as a recognition that respect precedes lasting attraction. And respect comes from perceived strength." The woman who witnesses your complete emotional surrender doesn't see beautiful vulnerability. She sees a man who has relinquished the very quality that attracted her in the first place, your emotional self-governance. Now you understand the hidden mechanism behind her sudden loss of interest. But understanding isn't enough. You need a strategy to maintain attraction while still being authentically you. The Machiavellian lesson is clear. Emotional control is power. Emotion without strategy is self-sabotage. To maintain female interest, you must balance emotional accessibility with strategic authority. Be human, but enigmatic. Show feelings, but never dismantle yourself completely. This doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or becoming some cold, calculated machine. It means understanding that timing, context, and delivery matter tremendously. It means recognizing that selective vulnerability, carefully chosen moments of authentic sharing, creates far deeper connection than emotional flooding. The man who masters his emotions commands respect and seduces silently. As Machiavelli would say, it's not about lying, it's about not surrendering what makes you vulnerable to someone who is still testing you. Here's your actionable strategy. First, establish emotional independence. Before sharing vulnerabilities, demonstrate strength. Show her that your emotional state is self-contained, not dependent on her validation. Second, practice strategic vulnerability. Share personal insights and feelings gradually, always from a position of strength rather than need. Frame challenges as obstacles you're overcoming, not wounds you're asking her to heal. Third, maintain mystery. Never reveal everything about yourself. No matter how comfortable the relationship becomes, the most magnetic men always keep certain chambers of their castle locked, creating perpetual curiosity. Fourth, master emotional timing. Share deeper feelings after she's invested significantly, not before. Let her earn your emotional trust rather than giving it away freely. Finally, remember that true strength isn't found in hiding emotions, but in controlling their expression. The most powerful man isn't emotionless, he's emotionally sovereign. He feels deeply but chooses carefully when, how, and with whom he shares those feelings. You now possess knowledge that few men ever discover, while others remain confused by the sudden disappearance of female interest. You understand the invisible dynamics at play. You can now navigate relationships from a position of strategic awareness rather than emotional reactivity. So tell me, have you experienced this pattern in your own relationships? Has a woman ever withdrawn after you showed emotion? Comment below with your experience. If this video opened your eyes to something you've been experiencing but couldn't explain, hit the like button and subscribe for more hidden truths about female psychology that nobody else is willing to tell you. Remember, previous videos in this series reveal equally powerful insights that can transform your relationships. Check them out and join the community of men who refuse to remain in the dark about the true nature of attraction and power. Until next time, maintain your strength, guard your vulnerabilities, and remember, in the game of power and attraction, The man who controls his emotions controls the outcome.